Today I'm ranking every legendary power weapon in Destiny 2, completing my goal of ranking every single legendary weapon in the game. Why did I decide to do this? Who knows? Is it paying off? Absolutely. We'll start off with the linear fusion rifles. Although these are set to receive a nerf in Lightfall, I'll rank them based on their effectiveness currently so that next year I can redo all these videos and get a whole lot more views. Cataclysmic, in my humble opinion, the best linear in the game. This can roll 4th times with bait and switch, giving you ridiculous ammo economy and ridiculous damage. Pair this with Wither Horde and you'll pull higher DPS numbers than your entire team combined. S tier. Moving to the opposite end of the spectrum, Corsair's Wrath. I don't know what Bungie was thinking when they decided on perks for this gun. I had a pulse monitor high impact reserves roll sitting in my vault for the longest time. Never used it and eventually dismantled it for vault space. Definitely D tier. Fire and Forget, a stasis 3 burst LFR that can roll field prep focused fury. Not an outstanding roll, but considering it's got stasis synergy and vice stinger, I'm gonna have to put this in A tier. Might get nuked next season though, we'll see. Reed's Regret, the gun that made people say, aha, linears are actually good now, thus invalidating all the jokes I'd previously made about how terrible they were, and believe me, I've made a lot of jokes. Triple tap firing line is the roll you want. Vice Stinger 2. I'm aware it's getting nerfed, but it's still worth mentioning. S tier. Sales by Pitch Glass. Clown Cartridge Frenzy is the roll I use on this personally, and it works out great for anything outside of raids where you can't constantly be hitting precision shots for triple tap or 4th times. As a Nightfall weapon, this thing's great. A tier. Storm Chaser, another 3 burst. It doesn't have any ammo conservation perks though, meaning it struggles in longer damage phases. As a burst DPS weapon though, there's no linear that's better. High A tier. Taipan, same roll as Reed's Regret, it's just void and craftable. Triple tap firing line is always nice. I'll go S tier, but I think it's worse than a perfect Reed's roll. Tarantula, much like Corsair's Wrath, I kept a god roll one of these on my vault for the longest time. Field prep box breathing, and as a wise person once said, you know a weapon's bad when you have to resort to box breathing. C tier. Threaded Needle can roll Clown Cartridge Frenzy just like Spyro, but why would you ever use this when you could just use Taipan? B tier. Now for grenade launchers. These are getting a buff next season, but I'll be taking this into account only to a small degree. Interference. Clown Cartridge or auto-loading with demo is probably what you want. If you want to stand 50 meters away from the boss and miss all your shots, go with full court instead. High C tier. Love and Death, it can roll exactly the same thing, full court included. It's a rapid fire frame, but I use these GLs so infrequently that I don't know if that's good or not. I'll go C tier again. Memory Interdict. This GL tries the ad clear approach, but as with most ad clear heavies, they get wiped clean off the board by Forbearance, a special weapon. Not good now, doubt it will be in Lightfall. D tier. Outrageous Fortune. I feel like if Bungie did something with the damage perks on GLs, they might see more use. This one's pretty awful, low C tier. Swarm of the Raven. I think this is just a carbon copy of Outrageous Fortune. 90% of the perks are identical, also C tier. Berenger's Memory. Whoever Berenger is, he's probably got dementia. Clown Cartridge auto-loading holster? I don't even know if those two synergize. You can roll Clown Demo too, I guess. Low B tier. Tarnation. Again, what's with the ad clear perks, Bungie? The only way heavy grenade launchers will ever be good for ad clear is if they tripled their reserves. As it is though, they just can't compete. C tier. Typhon. We're taking a step in the right direction with this one, but it is a small step. Demo with explosive light actually sounds usable, especially next season. Chill Clip could also be useful for Nightfalls, as it can enable you to stun overloads and unstops come Lightfall. I can't really put this in A, so I'll go high B. Wendigo. Clown Frenzy is a pretty promising roll, can also get explosive light and interestingly golden tricorn. Also Cascade Point could be good paired with a 4th times firing line sniper like Fugu. It's a meta I desperately want to happen, but will require a lot of testing in Lightfall. Low A tier. I'm talking a lot about these, so let's speed this one up. Blastber 2, same roll as Berenger's Memory, low B tier. Canis Major, can roll Vorpal, which is surprisingly the first time I've seen it on a grenade launcher. It's only a 10% buff, but it's better than nothing. Pair this with Clown Cartridge and you've got yourself a pretty average weapon once Lightfall drops. High B tier. Crowd Pleaser, this one isn't pleasing anyone, least of all me. It can do Clown Demo, high C tier. Finally, Cry Mutiny. It's got the roll Demo Vorpal. Not awful, I guess, B tier. Take all of those grenade launcher rankings with a grain of salt, I'm not that knowledgeable when it comes to these things. Moving on to a weapon type I'm more familiar with, machine guns. Recurrent Impact, I actually think this is a pretty solid weapon. It's a 900 RPM so it doesn't feel the best to use, but it can roll Subsistence or Field Prep with Frenzy. I like it, high B tier. 7th Seraph Saw. Autoloading Vorpal is pretty good. High impact frames on a machine gun are also pretty good. Warmind cells are also pretty... never mind. I'll put this one in high B. Shattered Cypher. Auto-loading an Adrenaline Junkie or Rampage is quite nice. Not a brilliant archetype, but that doesn't completely destroy the weapon. B tier. Terminus Horizon, a high impact frame that can roll demo in its first column. You can pair that with Adrenaline Junkie or Target Lock for a really solid weapon. Arguably the best for arc machine guns, A tier. Swarm, actually a pretty underrated option, although I can't rate it as highly as the others since Surplus is the only decent perk in the first column. Can get Vorpal in the second though, B tier. Thermal Erosion, field prep in the first column is about the only thing you can go for. Pair that with either Demo or Wellspring. It's bad, C tier. Unwavering Duty, 2 top tier roles of Subsistence, Killing Tally and auto-loading Incandescent. It's a 450, so not a terrible archetype either. I'm putting this one in high A tier, I think. Tons of ad clear with Incandescent, which is what you want on a machine gun. A fine Memorial. I would personally go auto-loading or Subsistence with Frenzy on this, but One for All and Adrenaline Junkie are decent options too. Low A tier, quite underrated. Archon's Thunder. Completely expected this to be a PvP weapon, but was pleasantly surprised when I saw it could roll auto-loading or Surplus and Rampage. Not awful, low B tier. Avalanche. Like Unwavering Duty, this can roll Incandescent for some nice solar damage. You could also go for Target Lock for Yellow Bar and Boss damage. A tier. Chain of Command, not my favourite stasis pick, but I can acknowledge that it's quite good. Demo Adrenaline Junkie is probably the best role, but Osmosis gives this interesting synergy with grenade builds. Adaptive Munitions could be decent too, but since Match Game isn't a thing next season, I don't think this will be a good perk. A tier. Commemoration, the best void machine gun in the game, hear me out. Both the new and old versions of this can roll Reconstruction in the first column. This gives the gun a way to auto-reload and overflows your magazine. Pair that with Killing Tally to boost its damage to a ridiculous degree. S tier. Corrective Measure, this one's going in A. Reason, Demo Adrenaline Junkie. Rewind rounds could be alright too. Fixed Odds, while I don't think this is better than Avalanche or Unwavering Duty, it's still a nice solar option. Feeding Frenzy or Field Prep with Incandescent sounds fun. Craftable too, so your odds of getting God Roll are entirely fixed. High B tier. Plank's Stride. The only strides you'll be taking with this gun are backwards ones. I'm not seeing anything great in the first column, but I guess Harmony or Swashbuckler can roll in the second. Pretty underwhelming, especially considering the frame. C tier. Quillim's Terminus. I've been saying the name of this weapon wrong the entire time. It's Quillim, not Quillim. Why are the names so difficult to pronounce? No idea. It's pretty average. Unrelenting or Stats for All with Killing Tally is solid. High B tier. Now for rockets. I did a lot of research on this because it's a bit of a hot topic. Palmyra B, How the Mighty Have Fallen. Numerous precision frame nerfs have hit this gun hard. Is it still good though? Absolutely. Auto-loading lasting impression is just too good. Less damage than the other options, but the rocket's track, which is just so nice. Low A tier. Red Herring, much like its name would suggest, this isn't a rocket you want to follow up on. Field prep lasting is alright, I guess. High C tier. Roar of the Bear, but not like a grizzly bear, more of a black bear. It's not bad, but I prefer other options. Demo lasting impression or Vorpal is quite good though. High B tier. Royal Entry. It's got the same problem as Palmyra in that it's been nerfed to Oblivion and back, but this stands out with the raw auto-loading clown cartridge that does well when there's a Galahorn in the fire team. The Palmyra roll can be gotten on this rocket too. A tier. Sleepless, a very commonly overlooked option. Vorpal got nerfed on heavies some time ago, but it's still one of the only viable options for things like Nightfalls. It's a high impact frame though, giving it lower base damage than aggressive or adaptive frames. Low A tier. Sub-Zero Salvo, a rocket that tries its hand at ad clear for some reason. Much like grenade launchers though, Forbearance being the absolute king of ad clear immediately makes this weapon obsolete. That and the fact that rockets are terrible for ad clear in the first place. D tier. Hothead. I've never understood the hype around this rocket. Looking at the most common roles, I'm seeing a lot of tracking module, especially for the Adept variant. Hothead users are confusing. I'd personally go for Demo Clown. Oh, it's clicking now. Starfire Protocol Warlock. Yeah, this is S tier. Sorry, my primitive hunter brain took a while to comprehend that one. Tomorrow's answer. The name of this gun implies the existence of today's question. What is today's question? No clue. This can roll auto-loading lasting, but it isn't that great. High B tier. Apex Predator. This thing is definitely not an Apex Predator. In fact, it sits right at the bottom of the food chain, right in D tier. Apologies to any Apex Predator enjoyers. Ascendancy. Explosive Light sits in a weird place currently for rockets, since the perk doesn't give damage bonus for the Galahorn's Wolfpack rounds. Plus you have to worry about orbs, which doesn't make it terrible, but I'd rather not be in a situation where I don't have the buff active. High B tier. Bad Omens. It's definitely a bad omen to use this rocket. Kill clip on a rocket launcher is not where it's at. Maybe Genesis could be usable though? C tier. Blowout. There's something about bright red rockets that just automatically make them good. Demo with Explosive Light, Vorpal or Lasting. Yet again there's an obsession with tracking module on Light GG, and yet again I'm going to ignore it and wait for all the comments to point out how wrong I am. Maybe it's a PvP thing. High A tier. Hothead is better. Bump in the Night, pretty unique in that it can roll demo or auto-loading with chill clip. Having one or two fireteam members using this instead of Hothead or Heathens can do quite well due to the shatter damage. S tier. Code Duello, the original lasting impression rocket. Definitely been power crept a bit, but if you still have a god roll of auto-loading lasting impression lying around, it'll perform just fine. Beta. Heretic, field prep or impulse amplifier with lasting impression. Not bad at all, especially with the aggressive frame. Low ATA. Hezen Vengeance, my personal favourite when it comes to rockets. Overflow makes this thing really good, but it also has auto-loading if you're pairing it with other DPS weapons. Lasting impression or Vorpal in the second column, obviously, S tier. Shining Sphere can get auto-loading demo, C tier. And finally going out with a bang, Huscow. What a weapon, look at how majestic it looks. My favourite part about this weapon, it takes up half your screen when you use it. Auto-loading demo is somewhat usable, C tier. Now for swords. Spoiler alert, most of them don't go above B tier. You can probably guess the ones that do. Quick Fang. Despite looking super cool while using this, it's really bad. Relentless Strike's One for All is the most popular roll, D tier. Razor's Edge is a vortex frame sword that can roll unrelenting or relentless strikes with chain reaction. Vortex frames haven't been good for a while, unfortunately, and this thing's attempt to add clear is immediately squandered by, you guessed it, forbearance. I'll put this one in B though, you can still get some solid DPS. Solar's Scar. Bungie, I would murder the entire population of a small town for caster frames to get a buff. They are so cool, but so bad at the same time. Looking at the perks, we've got a nice roll Relentless Strikes Vorpal. Chain Reaction is an option too, but, you know. My solution? Make the projectile a massive wave that pierces enemies. That way this would actually be a viable heavy weapon. That or just increase the damage by like 200%, but that's boring. I'm going with B tier again on this one. Steel Sybil Z14. I think we'll see a lot of swords follow in this thing's footsteps. It's an adaptive frame which for swords makes them really awful. Relentless Strikes Whirlwind Blade is easily the best roll, C tier. Temptation's Hook, Relentless Strikes Vorpal or Whirlwind Blade, just a worse Solar's Scar really, low B tier. Half-truths, you all know exactly where this thing's going. Putting a weapon in S tier for its utility alone seems really weird, but let's be honest, where else would it go? Probably my most used heavy weapon to be honest. I just feel super slow and sluggish without it. Roll doesn't really matter as long as you've got Eager Edge. The other half, same as Half-Truths, it's just purple and does some slightly better damage. Going with Vorpal or Whirlwind Blade in the second column makes this passable when it comes to DPS, S tier. Zephyr, a very unique sword that can roll Relentless Cold Steel. Cold Steel slows and freezes enemies on hit, which is actually really nice. This will make it an overload unstop and barrier weapon next season too. Not that you'll be running a sword in Nightfalls though, that would be a terrible idea and probably end up with your remains splattered all over the ground, A tier. Abide the Return. We're back onto awful swords again, C tier. Bequest. Relentless Strike Surrounded does a bit more damage than Whirlwind Blade, but it's so situational that the damage increase doesn't matter. Not enough enemies, no surrounded. Get stomped away from the group, no surrounded. Dies because you're surrounded by enemies in a high-end Nightfall, no surrounded. It's just a bad perk on swords, D tier. Crown Splitter, Relentless Vorpal with a unique frame. Only Titans can use it though, which is frustrating considering the Hunter one does the damage equivalent of a paper cut. This one is solid, but not anything to get excited about. High B tier. Eternity's Edge. It's a vortex, but its best damage perk is surrounded. Low B tier. Falling Guillotine. Although it's been beaten into the ground over and over and over with heavy nerfs, it still remains a solid weapon. Relentless Strikes Whirlwind Blade is what you want. My nostalgia wants me to put this in A tier, but I think a high B is a more appropriate place. Hero of Ages. Despite looking like something out of a Zelda game, this is by no means better than Guillotine. Don't get me wrong though, Relentless Strike's Chain Reaction is a super fun roll. B tier. Honor's Edge. It's funny how like half the swords have edge in the name. This sword can get a unique perk I actually haven't seen on any other swords, Shattering Blade, which makes your heavy do more damage if it consumes the last of your ammo. It's not very good though, plus no Whirlwind Blade, D tier. Negative Space. It's an adaptive with Relentless Whirlwind, C tier. Finally, Night Terror. I had no idea this weapon existed, so it's not on the tier list. Relentless Vorpal is maybe just about usable, high C tier. With all the heavy weapons done, that is every legendary weapon in Destiny 2 ranked. You should subscribe because I might do exotics at some point. I also might not. Think of it as a fun little game of roulette. That's it from me, bye.